to the Unleash Success Podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
And welcome back to Unleash Success. This is Corey Corpodian. In today's interview, we interview one of the biggest podcasters in the community, John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneur on Fire. JLD is the founder and host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is an award-winning podcast. It actually won Best of iTunes, and there he interviews inspiring entrepreneurs 7 days a week. Now, before we jump into this interview, I just want to let you guys know that this episode was unfortunately cut short halfway through due to some technical complications. And by technical complications, I mean I screwed up. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, just like JLD, whose journey was a bit of a zigzag of struggle and grind, so is all our journey to success. Luckily, I was able to recover quite a few of the interview. But failure is part of success. And so I wanted to share this with you because one of the biggest things I hear from most people on this show is that they don't define failure like other people. In fact, they don't even think of failure as failure. They look at it as a learning experience. And that is one of the biggest distinctions I can make in an opportunity I have. Failures are a stopping point, while learning experiences help you grow and become better. So in fact, when I finally let myself fail more, I started taking bigger risks. Now, I don't fail. I don't look at failure as failure. I look at it as a learning experience. Instead of needing everything to be 100% perfect, I started thinking back to my school and sports days. You know, in school and sports, you prepare for an exam or a game the best you can. But come game day, you've got to take the test or play the game. There's no more waiting, no more preparing, just action. And if you get a 90%, you're pretty happy. If you get a 70%, you might be satisfied but want to improve for next time. And if you quote unquote fail, you don't stop trying, you don't quit. You either have to retake the test or do better so you don't have to retake the class. You see, the key is you take action, you get a result, you measure it, and you improve upon it. It's the same in school as it is in sports, business, and relationships. And luckily, I learned a lot from this interview. And even, more fortunately, we were able to get the second half of the audio back, and I took this as an opportunity to share with you guys my failure so you can learn from it too. So let's get back to JLD, where he's interviewed over 1,800 different entrepreneurs, guys like Tony Robbins, Seth Godin, Gary Vee, Barbara Corcoran, Tim Ferriss, and thousands more. Entrepreneurs on Fire is an interview podcast focused on the journey of each guest. It goes over their worst entrepreneurial moment to their aha moment. Before Entrepreneurs on Fire, John Lee Dumas also had a zigzag of struggle and grind. He served as an active duty Army officer for 4 years. Then he went on to try law school, corporate finance, and even commercial real estate. But then in 2012, he started his journey to create Entrepreneurs on Fire. In fact, this journey led him and his wife, Kate, to recently move to their dream house overlooking the gorgeous Caribbean. They call it the house that podcasting built. So let's learn from JLD himself how podcasting can influence your entrepreneurial journey as well.
Corey, what's up, brother?
John Lee Dumas, how are you doing, man?
The sun is shining, the birds are singing in Puerto Rico. Life is good.
Man, I'm super stoked to have you on this podcast, and I know that your time is super valuable, so I want to get right into it.
Boom.
You are an amazing person, winning the 2013 iTunes Best of the Year. I want to know, what was that moment where you were like, I've got to become the next, entrepreneur? What made you do this?
So for me, it was always about the conversations. And I was loving listening to conversations as just a non-entrepreneur on my track in the Army and commercial real estate and, corporate finance and just loving those conversations. But then realizing that, hey, I can have those conversations and I can have those conversations with other successful entrepreneurs. And I can bring a different spin, a different angle, a different frequency to the equation. And that's kind of where the idea for the podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire came. And That was 1,750 episodes ago now. And it's been quite the journey, but it was really first, again, starting off with me just listening, just being a consumer of the audio content, just keeping my eyes and my ears open. And when the opportunity kind of presented itself, jumping on it. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm wondering, with all these interviews with amazing entrepreneurs, what are some of the common themes or patterns that you see that all successful entrepreneurs do?
All successful entrepreneurs, they recognize the importance of investing in themselves. They know without a doubt that, hey, they need to invest time, energy, and in a lot of cases, money into their entrepreneurial journey. And it's critical. And kind of part of that investment, I will say, that definitely seems to come up over and over again with entrepreneurs is the right mentor. Because a lot of people get the wrong mentor, and that can really cost you. That can cost you all of those things: time, energy, effort, money. And if you can really just say, hey, I know where I want to be, and then go find that person who is currently where you want to be in life and have that person be your mentor, that's the path that you need to be on. So like, for instance, I knew that I wanted to be a successful business podcast host. So what did I do? I went and found a successful business podcast host. Like, that was the process. That was where I was able to avoid the mistakes that she had made and, have the successes that she had made and follow those paths and avoid the rabbit holes and do all those things. So that's just one thing that really jumps out to me that a lot of successful entrepreneurs have as a commonality in their past.
Excellent. I love that because I'm a big believer in modeling, and absolutely, I followed you for a long time, and I love all the information that you give. And I've modeled a lot about my podcast around what you designed. So huge benefit to that. And you said you avoided some of the mistakes there. What are some common mistakes that some entrepreneurs make starting out?
Not really knowing what your own voice is. Because we all know what our voice is, but then we're not true to that voice. Like, we think that, somebody has done it right before us, like Larry King or Howard Stearns or X or Y or Z. And then we kind of base our entire process and our entire show off of mimicking that and of following that. And one thing to be clear about is we're all standing upon the shoulders of giants. So that's clear. Like, we know that. I've learned from those who have come before me. You've learned from others as well. But you need to know your own voice and speak to that, because on something like audio and video, like, it comes through so clearly, that authenticity, that genuineness, or the lack thereof. So you just really need to say, listen, this is who I am. This is what I want to stand for, and move towards that as soon as possible. And it's easier said than done. Like, it didn't happen for me overnight. Like, I had to do hundreds of episodes to really get comfortable in my own vibe and my own personality and my own voice. But it's a journey that you want to be moving towards and getting there as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So between podcasting and entrepreneurship, how do you manage your time? And do you have any tools that you use to kind of stay organized so that you can get to that goal further faster?
Well, managing time is everything, because as entrepreneurs, all we have is time. So the most critical thing that you can do is really learn how to batch your tasks. Now, I'm at the extreme at this point. I'm 5 years into my journey. I've had a lot of success, so I'm able to be on that extreme. And what does that look like? Well, I have 21 interviews today, back to back to back.
Wow.
That's it. Like, that's extreme. But guess what? I do this 1 day a month. So I batch all of my interviews on other shows 1 day a month, and I knock them out. I get in the zone where I'm like, hey, I'm here to serve other hosts like Corey, like Dan, like Sam, like Sarah, whoever it might be that's on my list today. I'm here to serve them and their show and their listeners. And I'm true to that mindset all day long. And I can knock out 21 episodes and enjoy every single part of that process because I batch. So I think we need to start off day one by, again, not going to the extreme where I am right now, because I didn't start here day one, but at least thinking that way and saying, how can I batch different tasks in my life so that I can make sure that I have big blocks of other time where I can really focus on other projects to keep my business going and not having this one thing kind of take over my life. Like, I could have had a daily podcast take over my life. And if I had allowed that to happen, I never would have created anything else, because it would have just been like an episode a day, editing, rushing, this, that, the show notes. But no, I was able to establish processes and systems and automations in batching to make it happen. So a great tool that I recommend highly is Schedule Once. It's kind of how I run my life. It's how I schedule everything. It's how you schedule this interview. There's some other ones out there that are also very good. Calendly is a free app. So that's Schedule Once is not free. It's a little bit of an investment, but Calendly is free. There's another tool called Acuity Scheduling. So you can find some nice free tools out there that can really make it happen for you. But, I'm definitely adamant about investing in my time and saving that time. So like a tool like Schedule Once, I just love.
Yeah, absolutely. I've used Calendly before, and obviously Schedule Once when we scheduled this interview. So when it comes to podcasting, I love that you talked about batching, because that's definitely something that allows us to really highly focus on what we're doing right then and there. I'm curious to know what are a few of the biggest mistakes that maybe early podcasters make when they start podcasting.
They don't understand the journey that they're taking their listener on. So I think that one core thing that every podcaster needs to recognize is, who's your perfect listener? The one perfect listener. And I've gone on rants before about my avatar. His name's Jimmy. He's 37 years old. He has a wife and 2 kids, ages 3 and 5. He has a 25-minute commute to work. Like, I could go on about this guy. I know my perfect listener inside and out. So I know the journey that I want to take Jimmy on. So for instance, when Jimmy hears about Entrepreneur on Fire for the first time and he listens to my first episode, I have an intro that says, hey, are you looking to accomplish a big goal? Because if you are, you can accomplish your number one goal in 100 days. Just visit thefreedomjournal.com. So now I'm having a guy that's my perfect avatar. He has a goal to accomplish. Now I'm giving him a tool that he can accomplish that goal with. And it just happens to be my Freedom Journal. And he can learn from that. And that's, an example of knowing from day one, like, what's the journey you're taking your avatar on? It doesn't have to be to a paid product. It can be to a free course or this or that. Like, it can be to, a number of different things, but you just need to know the journey, that funnel that your listener is going on when they experience your brand, your podcast for the first time.
Yeah, I've listened to you talk about how, you give so much free, amazing content out and really maximize helping people first before you ever really ask for anything. I find that podcasting has really helped a lot of entrepreneurs in their business journey. Do you think that, a lot of entrepreneurs should be podcasting, or how has it helped you just explode?
Well, guys, it's Corey here. Unfortunately, this is where the audio cut out during our call for this question. At this point, I had done several Skype interviews over a couple weeks, and I really felt like a pro. That's when life likes to punch you right in the face. In the middle of this episode, we lost audio, and I had hoped that the recorder had caught JLD's answer, so I didn't have him go over it again, but of course, it didn't. The fact that I messed up on this interview is actually why I'm so excited to share it with you. Because so many times people, quote unquote, fail and never start back up again. This one was a big failure for me. I was worried that none of the audio would be there. In the 60 seconds it took me to fix this problem and get back on the call with John, I asked myself literally a million questions. What if I can't fix this? What if John is upset with me for screwing this up? What if I lose audio to the second half of this entire interview? What if I don't ever get another chance to interview JLD again? What if I screw this up and no one listens to me because I'm horrible at podcasting? You could see how easy it is to be overly dramatic in our own mind. Luckily for me, JLD was super cool about everything. Obviously, he's done this before, and things went back on track. But I thought, you know what? It feels like sometimes we make mistakes, and you see a lot of people sometimes do the one right thing, and you think maybe they're just born that way. That success somehow comes easy to them. And it's not true. Success is hard work. I've trained myself to respond better in high-stakes scenarios, but for me, messing up with JLD, this was a big one. I felt like I let people down. I let John down, and somehow I should have known better. And this is what I talk about all the time when I do motivational speaking for events and businesses. And that's emotional fitness. Emotional fitness is the ability to control our emotions instead of letting them control us. Freaking out when this interview got messed up, I was at a loss for words. Well, all of them except for one 4-letter F word that I kind of used a lot. But anxiety and worry and even anger started to rush over me. And then the biggest emotion was the fear of failing at podcasting. That somehow this one screw up meant I was no good. That this would cause me to fail. The truth is, I've made tens of thousands of mistakes in my lifetime. And even I've made hundreds of mistakes in podcasting, even though I just launched 2 months ago. Every time I turn around, I seem to be screwing something up. I launched the podcast a month later than I hoped. Then I launched one episode just to get it on iTunes. And of course, at the same time, I had this huge business opportunity. And so I didn't have, let's rephrase. I didn't make time for the podcast. And so by week 5, I started releasing shows. And I missed the holy grail of the first 8 weeks of being on iTunes, where if you're lucky enough and you do a good job and people review and give you 5 stars, you can get on the new and noteworthy category, which really does give you some of the best free advertising you can get. But I missed that. I failed. So I've had to promote my podcast the old-fashioned way, literally telling people in person, one by one. It may make this journey more difficult, but like I've said before, I'm in this for the long haul. I've committed to 100 episodes. And when I commit to something, I never stop until the goal is accomplished. So we screw up, but in the end, it's how we handle failure that determines how successful we will be. Using my emotional fitness, I reframed this experience to be a good one. I'm actually glad it happened now. Would I want it to happen again? Hell no. But now I'm glad it did because it was a learning experience. And what I learned, I can share it with you to remind both of us that the road to success is often difficult. Sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But the only time we truly fail is when we give up. Luckily, I caught up with JLD at an event after this interview. He went over some great info about podcasting and how it helped him as an entrepreneur, so I'll share that before we jump back into the interview. He talked about how podcasting has helped him reach so many people than he ever thought possible. Through podcasting, he's been able to completely support his business and even has one of the best podcasting groups in the community called Podcasters Paradise. This group has worked with over 3,000 people to help them use podcasting to enhance and accelerate their business. So in the end, yes, podcasting can play an integral role in promoting your business and helping your entrepreneurial career. For JLD, it's created his entire EO Fire community. And in the last 5 years, he has made over $12 million through EO Fire. So let's get back to the interview and hear some more value from JLD himself.
Hello.
I can hear you. JLD, we back.
All right.
Okay. Wow. That was great. So going back into that, I'm curious to know what's one thing that surprised you the most about your podcasting journey? I mean, 1,700 episodes. You're absolutely, one of the largest podcasts out there. So what surprised you most about it?
I can say by far, I was just shocked at just how intimate a connection you make with your listeners so quickly on your podcast, where when you meet them in real life and they just feel like they know you. And I feel the same way with podcasts that I listen to. When I meet the host of different podcasts in person, it's just kind of this cool, surreal experience. Like, a couple months ago, Michael Hyatt was down in Puerto Rico. He came over, visited Kate and I here. And, I've hung out with him multiple times in person, but then to have him and his wife sitting downstairs, on our kitchen terrace, just hanging out, enjoying life, having a conversation. It was a little bit of a surreal experience because I feel like I had known that guy for so long, even before I launched my podcast, listening to his podcast and consuming so much of his content. So that's one powerful thing that I think a lot of people can really get excited about is you are able to form amazing connections with your listeners through being a podcast host that's really hard to replicate anywhere else.
Absolutely. And it's so funny you say it because I really feel like we could be friends right now. I mean,
yeah,
honestly,
totally.
Yeah. I've listened to you for so long, and that's why I chose podcasting as well, because I love the medium that it presents and it really creates such a strong relationship. As you've gone through this journey, I'm sure you've made tons of mistakes. We all have. What would you say are a few of the biggest mistakes and how to avoid them or overcome them?
Well, one thing that we mentioned already was my voice, just not really realizing that people wanted to hear JLD, like me, the personality and the little quirks of the things that people remember. And, people love and always comment on the fact when one of my guests gives a crappy answer and I'm just like, that really wasn't that good of an answer. I'm looking for a little bit more there and kind of calling them out. So just remember that you're not looking for this perfect spot-free show. You're looking for this real show where real things happen. Audio might get cut off. People might, make a mistake and have a sneezing fit, whatever might happen. But that can be life sometimes. And you want people to realize that, hey, this is life. I'm living this, and it's a connection that you're continuing to bring. So, that'd be one of the big, that would be one of the big mistakes, is people not bringing their personality into the game early on. Another one is, again, not having that funnel, not having that understanding of the journey you're taking your avatar on. That's really impactful. And then number 3 would be, not realizing that you're building great relationships with these guests that you have on and with your listeners. And you need to continue to work at nurturing those and continue to follow up and to support and to share and to do what you can. I get emails all the time from my past guests, like 4 years ago, because I'm continuing to share their stuff, and they're very thankful for that. So they're emailing to thank me for, hey, John, I saw that you tweeted, out my link today. Thank you for that. And, it's just kind of continuing that relationship, realizing this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint, be in it for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And just that authenticity, stuff does happen, as we've experienced. Yeah. And so what would you say is your favorite tool that's really helped you in podcasting? I mean, that could be it. Maybe it's whatever free service you use. And I know Podcasters Paradise is a huge networking community and really helps a lot of people ignite their podcast. What is your favorite tool that you use?
A tool that I'm really loving right now is called repurpose.io. And why I love that is because every day it allows me, and specifically my virtual assistant, to go in and to take my podcast that just went live on all of the podcasting directories and repurpose that as a video onto onto Facebook, into YouTube. And now I'm able to not just have my podcast in front of the podcast directories, but get it into the feed of people within Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and kind of just continue to build that brand awareness and get it out there. So I love how that tool just makes it so simple. It's got the little audio waves that bounce, kind of catches people's eyes, and it's there as a video and high quality audio so people can listen and enjoy that. And that's a really cool tool.
I love that. So to wrap things up, you always ask people about a success quote. What's a success quote you're kind of pondering right now?
Wow, I seem to always be pondering different quotes, but a quote that I really do love to ponder over and over again, because this really got me to where I am today, is an Albert Einstein quote, which is, try not to become a person of success, but rather a person of value. And I recognized back in 2012, if I just worked on becoming a person of value first and foremost, then I was going to have a chance to win. And that was really impactful for me. And I just always want to keep reminding myself that, how am I becoming a person of value? Even though now that I've had great success financially, business-wise, personal-wise, all these things, I still need to think first and foremost, what is the value that I'm continuing to bring to the equation day in and day out? Be value.
You're absolutely a huge amount of value. And if you want to share about the Freedom Journal or the Mastery Journal and where people can kind of get a hold of you to learn more information about being an entrepreneur and podcasting.
Yeah, I'd say the best place to go is eofire.com. We have 4 completely free courses there on podcasting, webinars, funnels, and goals. We also have great little links to the Freedom Journal, the Mastery Journal, and to my new book coming out, How to Finally Win. So just a lot of great free stuff at eofire.com.
JLD, listen, man, I listened to that podcasting course. I watched the videos. This is how I really ignited my podcast. So I super appreciate everything you do, the Freedom Journal, all that great added value. You are awesome. Thank you very much for coming on to this interview today. Any final words for our audience?
Well, Corey, I received that. I thank you. And I'm excited about what you're doing in this world, kind of bringing that ripple effects and just adding value too. So enjoy chatting, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, JLD and EO Fire. And be sure to check out his podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, or visit the website eofire.com. If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life. and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action. Subscribe to the podcast and get ready to unleash success in you.